Today's episode of Filmmaker U is brought to you by our sponsors OWC. Go to owcdigital.com for all your filmmaking and computer needs. And it's also brought to you by our other sponsors, AJA. Make sure to check out aja.com so that you can see how they can help you in your post-production needs. Hi, I'm Gordon Burkell from Filmmaker U. At Filmmaker U, we create courses for film professionals to deepen and diversify your existing skill set. You can learn more at filmmakeru.com, or of course follow us on Twitter at filmmaker_u. Every week, we interview a film professional to discuss their work, and this week I'm joined by Brad Wilhite, whose work includes Daddy's Home, The Pink Panther, and more recently, Spirited for Apple TV+. Welcome to the show, Brad.
Hey, thanks for having me, Gordon.
How did you tackle a musical comedy? I feel like musicals, what are some of the challenges that other editors might not be aware of when it comes to musicals?
I think the volume of work involved in it, and just hitting the ground running every day for 12, 13 hours and just attacking it and staying on top of things.
What was the volume? Like, was it just because obviously multicam, but
we were cutting video tap on set. So I would cut that, and then I would go back to the Avid when I had moments where I wasn't on set and cut it for real. So I actually was doing like practice edits and watching footage as it happened, like 20 feet from the director's chair.
Oh, wow.
And we were in Boston at the time, hopping just all over the place. One of the biggest challenges was just like, where do I go the next day? You know, they send out the call sheet, and it's literally like, an army moving from one location to another with trucks and all, and there's a lot of logistics to figure out for yourself, because I didn't have an assistant that was like, Mr. Wilhite will be picking you up in the morning and taking you here. It was like hop in my car and go to these places. So I had to know where I was going every day, as well as, making sure that it doesn't sound that like it's that challenging, but for me, logistics were another characteristic of the job that I had to deal with.
Well, in most films, it's like, here's your edit suite. We'll see you in a make sure not to.
Yeah, that's probably why, because I'm used to that. You just every day you drive to the same place.
Yeah. I'm going to interrupt this interview for 1 second. We want to thank PixelView, one of our sponsors. They're a streaming solution for filmmakers. PixelView lets you stream your work to remote clients for easy collaboration, and it works with both on-set teams and post-production teams. With built-in video chat, you can discuss and make changes in real time and stream directly from your editing software. Or you can use the hardware encoder to stream from DaVinci Resolve or the camera on set. See the promo code and the link in the video description below. So what were, like, because you're on set, were you like, the director would just like come over, check as they were doing takes type thing?
From time to time, he would want to come over and see if he got a shot that he liked, or just check in, or sometimes I'd go get him and be like, oh, dude, you got to come see this. It's amazing,
Yeah.
And show him things. And it was basically that. We would use the Q-Take software. And as soon as they shot it, I would get it in the Avid.
So some directors don't like to show their actors' work. Did they show the actors' work on set, or did they withhold that until later?
The actors never really checked in too much. They might come by in passing and take a peek at something, but they knew that, these were rough assemblies happening on the set, so they weren't too precious about things. They would basically go to the playback monitor to see their footage.
Yeah.
And always kind of out of the way a little bit, always found like a quiet corner.
Set up your computer and start working.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, like when I watch outtakes and what have you from Will Ferrell movies or Ryan Reynolds movies, a lot of it is testing out jokes. So like they'll do one type of joke, then do the take again with a different punchline or what have you. Recycle. Was there a lot of that? Because with musicals, I feel like you have to stick to the songs. Like when you're in this.
There's definitely improv that's happening from Will, and there's absolutely jokes that we want to try and see if they're working for sure. a lot of times, a good joke will just speak to you as well. And maybe you play it for the audience and you're completely wrong and you go find another one that didn't speak to you. But I feel like about 50-50 in picking like the right improvs. And it's not that you use too many of the improvs either, because sometimes they just don't work in the story. They were funny on the set, but you find that in the movie it just doesn't work. And you hear that all the time, like the whole crew erupted in laughter on the set. I can't believe this isn't funny in the movie. We hear that a lot. At least once a movie, there's a bit or a time where that happens. There's a great improv in the film, though, where the guys have just finished their tap dance in Good Afternoon, and they do the whole thing about talking about how tap was new for them. And Will's like, "Oh, I was just following you," or Ryan says that to Will. And that was all improv, and it was in line with the film. And I thought that was a great moment between the guys.
Well, what's interesting, because you've done a lot of comedy, and I feel like comedy, you're playing off of the pacing that the actors sort of set, in the sense like they have a timing to them. But with music, you also need to have a certain timing that's dictated by the music. Was there ever conflicts in that, or did you have to rework moments or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's always tricky to like find holes in the song to play a bit of the comedy, like in Bringing Back Christmas, with the Christmas tree convention, where Ryan, he's got the white suit on and he's doing the dance on stage there. You had Will in the wings kind of commenting as you go. So yeah, you definitely want to kind of weave those moments in on the beat. You have the click track with you and you have the beats playing underneath you. So yeah, you definitely want to make sure that those moments fit within the constructs of the song, so you don't goof up the song.
Now, what would you say was your favorite part to edit in this?
Favorite part was probably Good Afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked that scene of the guys dancing outside. I thought they got a lot of fun footage. There was a lot happening with the dancers. Yeah, I think that was my favorite bit. There's one scene that didn't make the final cut, which is just as much my other favorite scene. And Wills takes Ryan back to his childhood home, and they're in his little bedroom. They're in Ryan's little bedroom. And Will's doing this big dance and song bit, and it's like, excuse me, and he's like singing with trophies, and he's like on Ryan's bed with stuffed animals. But eventually we found out that it was just a rehash of information the audience already knew.
Yeah.
So we danced around that number.
Nice pun. Nice use of wordplay.
Yeah.
What so like in the I guess what I'm wanting to know is, like, was there a scene that you found particularly challenging to edit but you really like the outcome of?
Let's think. All the musical numbers are a total challenge to edit, because you do that first pass and you're like, oh, it's great, but it needs to get like a million times better, because it's great just because the song is great and the footage is great. And the challenge then becomes it's too long too. So you have to figure out musically how you can whittle these things down. And Myron Kirstein helped do a lot of that. And it was instrumental to have him come in and figure some of this stuff out, because he's got such a command of music, which is really helpful. And those were the biggest challenge on the musicals, is just to figure out, this song's too long. How do we shrink it down and still keep the song, how do we still keep the form of the song like it was intended by the songwriter, like
Yeah.
because those guys have to sign off on it as well. And
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
yeah, you're pulling like stuff out of there, so it's a collaboration with them as well, to make sure, because you want them involved in what you're doing, so you're not, insulting them or hurting in their mind their music in any way, and they can be instrumental in telling you, oh, just pull this out and bring this up, so yeah.
This film,
yeah,
sorry.
Go
I was
ahead.
going to say the film is very much like Scrooged meets A Christmas Carol meets a musical. Were you a big fan of those, Scrooged and A Christmas Carol, or
Yeah, like the Muppets Christmas Carol, that was the best. And I can remember watching them as a kid, like the black and white one, and always being like terrified when Marley would get come to visit Scrooge, and Scrooge was always like this really mean dude, and it was always the earlier ones I remember as a kid were always kind of dark.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I was a big fan of the Christmas carols.
You know why they were dark, eh? So telling ghost stories used to be a tradition on Christmas Eve in England.
Yeah.
And that's where A Christmas Carol comes from, is out of that sort of like telling a scary story, but you sort of are supposed to, so they would tell these ghost stories to teach lessons and stuff like that. So it was probably like
the kids into,
yeah. And nowadays we're like, you know what, we should stop scaring the kids on Christmas Eve. Santa's coming, don't worry.
That's awesome. Good story.
So like when you're taking something like this where it is sort of based off of so many famous other famous other shows and movies and books and what have you, was there a lot of talk about those in the cutting room? Was there a lot of work sort of referencing to those, or how did that sort of play in?
Well, you want to stay kind of true to the rules of the Christmas Carol, and like we always made sure the rules of we had like basic rules of the ghosts and what they did and what they couldn't do. But as far as like referencing other Christmas carols, and not so much. Anders and Morris kind of crafted this script to be a little different, so there wasn't really, I don't know, any references that I could think of that we could look at to find the angle that they attacked it from, which was more the ghost world.
Well, Monsters Inc. That was the other one I was trying to think. It's like Monsters Inc. Scrooged.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So now, when you're looking, because you talked about getting the script, what do you look for in your scripts because I think you've done Pink Panther.
A job.
Okay. A paycheck.
You get a chance like Spirited, you're like, I love it. You read the script. Yeah, you definitely read it, you make notes, and you pitch ideas to the director that you have when you read it. Some things he's like, what are you talking about? Some things he's like, oh yeah, let's do that. And then you're like, oh no, he's gonna do that. Now I'm costing him money. I hope I'm right, but yeah, absolutely. You want to contribute from the moment you get that script. And you read it like 3 times, and it's right next to you as you edit these scenes, and you read it again before you cut the scene. I always like to read the scene right before I cut it, just to refresh my memory on what was the intent. Yeah. But then, you just put the notes aside and you just go cut the scene, because I'm always like, let me make my own mistakes for the scene. Like, I'm not really concerned about your circled takes. I like to cut it that way.
Now, did any of your what are some suggestions that we should keep an eye out for that you might have made? Or are you like, you know what, they didn't work, let's hide?
There was one, I made a suggestion in Good Afternoon, and we ended up cutting the bit.
Oh yeah, what was the bit?
This little ragamuffin, I don't know if you remember the ragamuffin in the movie. She comes Right after they go, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Well, they pull her out, and Ryan's like, thanks for the help. And he gives her like $100 bill, and she opens it up, and she's like, what am I supposed to do with this, you bloody wankers? And I pitched to Anders, like, in the background, the guy should come flying through the window because the bar fight's still going on. It's just kind of a funny reminder to the audience that there's causing all this chaos as they go through this set. And they did that, but it was just taking way too much time in a film that we were like, we are long, so let's look for every minute and second we can get out of here. And so, yeah, that went away.
So I have one last question for you. What would you say is your favorite guilty pleasure film or TV show to watch?
I would say my favorite TV show is Sopranos.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. How did you like the ending? Because the ending is controversial.
Yeah, it's funny. Sopranos to me was awesome in the beginning and probably up until the last season or so, and then it just got I lost a little for me. And endings are so hard to do. That's why these series TV shows get away with a lot, because they never have to end. And then when they do end, everybody's like, what? So yeah, the ending, I don't even remember the ending. And I watched The Sopranos through like 2 times or 3 times. And I don't even remember the ending, because I don't know if I watched the series all the way through to the end.
Now, I do have one other question. What is CEE on the pennant in the back?
Oh, that's my kid's school.
Okay.
Center for Early Education.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like a special sports team we should know about.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for letting me interview today.
Yeah. Best of luck with Filmmaker U.
Thank you. And that's everything for today, guys. Again, thank you for joining me. And you can check us out at filmmakeru.com, or of course on Twitter at filmmaker_u. I'm Gordon Brickell. Thanks for watching. Today's episode of Filmmaker U is brought to you by our sponsors, OWC. Go to owcdigital.com for all your filmmaking and computer needs. And it's also brought to you by our other sponsors, AJA. Make sure to check out aja.com so that you can see how they can help you in your post-production needs.